Kixstar, one of, if not the most influential people to ever touch Siege. Down to the early days of Siege where he helped pioneer some of the most used strategies to becoming one of the top professional players, competing in world championships, and then becoming one of, if not the best casters ever, this is Kixstar. So before I get into the effect that Kixstar had on Rainbow Six Siege, I have to start from the beginning. Michael Kixstar Stockley had been around since the very beginning of Siege. A first-person shooter obsessed adolescence, Kixstar took to FPS games like Fear, Project Blackout, CSGO, Warface, and more. But eventually when he heard about the beta of a game called Rainbow Six Siege, he started playing and eventually it became his favorite game. Throughout the early days of Siege, Kixstar quickly became one of the most disgusting fraggers in the entire game. He also quickly became one of the most well-known players in the entirety of R6, and come March of 2016, Kix had made it into the Pro League. With his team, he competed in the inaugural season of Pro League. Although his team was the first seed going into the tournament, his team finished in pretty much last place. But season 2 was right around the corner, and after qualifying for the first seed, his team managed to make it to the finals. After his team finished in a very respectable second place, halfway through season 3, Kix would quit professional play and would be presented with a new opportunity. This opportunity was to become a commentator, and this opportunity would change the course of competitive Rainbow Six Siege forever.
I retired in the middle of the third season, not being comfortable on the team that I was playing with at the time, and one of my good friends, Panky, he jumped on one of my streams, and in the chat he's just like, "Hey, you want to commentate?" I was like, yeah, let's do that. When
Kix started casting, you could feel the environment of the competitive matches that he casted changed completely.
Oh, he can deny the plant with the evil eye and just keep himself alive. 19 bullets, so he's got to be careful with that ammunition counter. And here's the denial! Oh my God! 5 seconds, and cameraman has to rush. Will he land the shot? Oh, incredible!
The commentary side of professional matches went from the commentators calling out the very basics of Siege and occasionally making some energetic calls, to a commentator that fully understood the principles of the game, coming from being a pro player. Along with the amazing commentating skills that Kix possessed, he was the first commentator in Siege history to be able to break down the strategy of Siege to the fullest.
Obviously here we're looking at a construction open. Now that makes me think that what's going to happen next is he's going to go ahead and open the stock drop, because there's not a whole lot of reason to open the moto drop and the construction drop, although I've seen some teams do it. I'm curious to see how they handle this attack, honestly.
And by 2017, Kix would be recruited to cast Siege first world championship, the Invitational. And when he finished casting the Invitational, he would go all in on casting, moving to Poland so he could cast from the comfort of ESL Studio. This decision was more detrimental to Kix than he anticipated. Being alone in Poland, Kixstar became known as hard to work with. He was naturally mostly antisocial and couldn't seem to get along with a lot of the people he was working with. But around this time, Kix started his transition over to Twitch streaming, which once again not a lot of the big Siege creators were doing, and this decision worked out very well with his Twitch skyrocketing alongside his casting career. But by the end of the year, Kix would make one of the most career-changing decisions for his casting career. And to set the scene, let's talk about interrobang. Interrobang was another caster that got in touch with Kixstar. The two got along right off the jump, and considering interrobang was also a caster, it piqued Kixstar's interest. And after Kixstar had seen some clips of Interro casting, Kixstar asked Interro to move to Poland and pursue casting with him. Little did Kix know this would kickstart the rise of Rainbow Six Siege competitive. And at this point, you could really see the effect Kixstar had on the competitive Rainbow Six Siege scene. And this was the first time that we had seen a caster that had so much knowledge as Kixstar, coming from being a professional player. And pair that with being an incredible natural talent of a caster alongside another amazing talkative caster in interrobang, you have one of the greatest casting duos of all time. Up until this point in Kixstar's casting career, he had not been real friends with any of his casting partners. But with him and Interro, the chemistry could be felt through the screen. When you would watch any game they casted together, you could feel it. And at this point, Kix had been fully seen as a caster and fully put himself into becoming the best caster he possibly could be. And Kix and Interro's casting had become a beautiful dynamic of masterful knowledge and great casting. But not only that, a great duo of hilarity.
Ow. Michael, I undid my top button, by the way. Do you want to loosen up a little bit?
Yeah, it's feeling a little strangled, to be honest. Thank you.
Just take it off.
Trying, but it's really tight.
No, the whole thing.
No, not gonna do that.
Okay. My name's Intero. I'm joined by Kixstar. As always, we're actually fast approaching 4 years together, Michael. It's you haven't even proposed yet. Unbelievable.
I know.
But
I am just an absolute sloth. I went to Vancouver, but I was like 5.
So that was like 2 years ago.
This is what I live with.
This is what we live with.
Michael, what an incredible game we just witnessed.
Yeah, it was fantastic. A wonderful game.
I mean, we've been saving so much strats, and we've been kind of taking a vacation. I went to Hawaii for 3 weeks, and I actually played from there. No, we've just played bad. We had a bad performance for a while.
Well, so he planted the diffuser, and then he went like prone.
No, I saw him. I saw him deploy after he.
Don't make that signal with your hand. Don't.
I saw him deploy.
Don't do that gesture ever again.
He did the shield thing. Stop. Why? What is wrong with your brain? What he did.
What's wrong with my brain? You know what they're going to be saying about that.
And this time of around 2018 through 2020 is seen by most as the prime of competitive Rainbow Six Siege, and Kix and Intero are seen as a massive part of that. But around this time of Siege's competitive blow-up, COVID-19 has started to play a part in it. And throughout all this time, Kixstar had been away from his family, and due to COVID-19, he moved back home and spent some much needed time with his family. And what came with this was a change in Kixstar himself. His personality changed a little bit. He was known for dressing and looking more expressive with his signature suits, watches, and rings. He started to become more vocal about the good and bad aspects of Siege. He was vocal when a team was good and when a team was playing bad. But one thing about Kix was his love for Siege. If he caught a pro team or a pro player out for a misplay, he didn't have any ill intent. All he wanted was for them to improve from it, because he wanted to see the highest level of Siege at all times. And rightfully so. Coming from being in the same shoes as the people he was casting about, him being able to call out the mistakes of the players and teams brought another feel to the casting broadcast, because no other caster at the time could do such thing, because he was a former pro. He knew what was going on when it went on and had the principle to make a statement on it like no other caster had. He stood alongside Rainbow Six Siege, and without Kixstar, Rainbow Six Siege would not be what it became. Kixstar built the future of what Rainbow Six Siege was to become. He did all of this while inspiring countless casters, content creators, pros, and just any normal fan of Siege. He inspired them all. He helped Siege become the esport it is today. But not everything about this story is positive, and in the fall of 2021, Kixstar had been signing off of a stream like any other day, but one sentence that seemed so normal in the moment would later become haunting.
I'm gonna leave. I'm gonna go for a drive with Stallion, I guess. And we'll meet up with Stallion, and so I can use the rest of my day.
On October 11th, 2021, Michael Kixstar Stockley would pass away in an unexpected car accident. His family, friends, and the Siege community as a whole were devastated.
The police had called and left a message at 5:30, but because it came in as an unknown caller, I didn't see it. Really, I didn't pay attention. And I didn't find out till Tuesday morning, probably like 11 in the morning. And somebody was at the door, the dog was barking uncontrollably. I opened it up and there's 2 officers, and it's like, oh, he crashed. I know he crashed. We knew he hadn't come home that night. And then I looked at the officer's badge and saw one of them said coroner. And that was the oh fuck. And I just stood there and stared him in the eye until he said what he came to say.
The hole this left in the Siege community will never be filled, and on that day we lost an amazing part of the Siege community who created growth not only in the casting aspect, but in the game in general. Kixstar's family and friends lost an amazing person, and many people around the world lost an idol, someone to look up to be better, and once again this void will never be filled. Without Kixstar, Rainbow Six Siege esports and Rainbow Six Siege as a whole looks very different, and no one knows what it would look like without Kix, because it happened. And Kix did change the game, and that is something to be grateful for. And for that, everyone that is a part of the Rainbow Six Siege community should be grateful. But not only just be grateful for what he did to the game, but what he did for the people closest to him, and the people's lives he changed through the internet, whether that's through his streams or casting. All I want to say is thank you, Kixstar. Never forget.